Park in a private space and block an entrance? Pay the fines and the damages. Obligatory disclaimers, on mobile, non-English speaker, not in the US. Also, you need my permission to post elsewhere. This incident happened in the summer of 2018. I took a small part, but the real star was my landlord. A small background. It's common in my country to have apartment buildings next to houses, yard and all. I live in one such building. It has 10 apartments. 2 on each of the first 4 floors, 1 in the ground floor and 1 in the top floor. The top floor is used by the landlord when he and his family come for vacations, he lives abroad. The rest are rentals. We also have a small backyard with a side entrance, important for later. Next to the building is an empty lot, also belonging to the landlord. We use it as private parking space, with signs visibly saying it's private. It takes 10 cars, 1 per apartment, and that has the side entrance. Also, I was the longest tenant, so I was the superintendent. My job was to be the liaison between the tenants and the landlord and communicate any problems and concerns to him. The problem started when the house across the street from us was sold. An lovely old lady used to live there, but when she passed away, the house fell on disarray, especially the large yard. The new owners were Ken and Karen, fake names, but lived up to the meme. They immediately began major renovations, which was acceptable. But they also started park their cars in our 2 empty spots, 1 for the landlord and 1 for the lady in the ground floor that didn't own a car. At first, we would tell they were reserved spots and they would move their cars. But when they noticed the spots remained empty, they parked there permanently. I had notified the landlord and he told me to take pictures, log every incident and always notify the police. We started doing that every day. Ken is a hotshot local businessman and every time we called the cops would cause a scene about us being jerks. He always got a fine, but he very blatantly proclaimed he will not pay. The worst part came about a month before the landlord's annual visit. They stopped using one of their cars and left it permanently in front of the side entrance, blocking it. That was a huge issue. You see, the lady living in the ground floor is a renal dialysis patient and 3 times a week goes for a session in the local hospital. The ambulance brings her back and usually parked next to the side entrance because she is exhausted after a session. With Karen's car parked there, that wasn't doable anymore. They don't move it even when the police is called. I notify the landlord and try to hold our own hothead from doing anything foolish. The calmer thing he proposed was slashing their tires. Finally, our landlord arrives. I hand him the photos and the logs and he calls Ken over. Tony, the landlord, calmly explains that they are not allowed to park in our space and to move the cars. Ken's response was, "Who the hell do you think you are? I can park anywhere I want." Now, Ken thinks himself as a big fish in our small town. But Tony is a big fish in a major foreign city. And he is very creative when somebody pisses him off. He tells us to leave the spot next to the side entrance open for the weekend and he will take care of things. We do that and Ken parks his car next to his wife's. Sunday evening, a tow truck arrives and unloads an old Citroen DS, also known as the Frog, blocking both of their cars. Monday morning I wake by the buzzer and when I go downstairs, Ken and Karen are there. They are both livid. They can't move either car. Tony joins me, all smiles. Ken sees him and blows a gasket. He starts shouting and cursing. Tony, still smiling, replies, "I don't see a problem. My car is legally parked. What are you going to do about it?" Ken angrily gets into his car and reverses on the DS, crushing them both. Tony's smile became one of a shark. He immediately called the police. He pressed charges against Ken. The aftermath. Tony had legally bought the DS from his cousin that owns a car repair and restoration shop. The car was a restoration project and was insured. The court found Ken liable for the damage done. They also found out he was true to his word and hadn't paid any of the tickets. The fines for the tickets alone were almost €2,000. He also leased both his cars and they dropped him as a client immediately for purposefully causing an accident and damaging the leased car. They're sued for damages. Ken got another car, but learned his lesson and hasn't parked in our spots ever since.